All right, it looks like I just got off a bender. I no. Um, I am butt naked. I am just here to. It's that time. It's stage two of the Pickems of the tournament already. I woke up this morning at about Saturday morning. I woke up at about 10:20. I set my alarm for, and totally reasonable Saturday morning alarm time. And I didn't even check. I was busy all day yesterday. I missed pretty much every game for the last day of the first round, and I completely just blanked on the fact that there's no day off between rounds. I mean, I guess it's the same as Budapest, but I just forgot all about that. There was no break, and they jumped right into it, and I had not set my pick'ems. Stage one obviously did not go very well. Getting 3 out of 10 is about the lowest I think you can possibly do without being just an complete and utter dunce and randomly picking it. So I did a little bit better than randomly picking it, I'd say. Because if you randomly picked it, well, you probably would have had, there's a higher likelihood that you would have had Sinners in the O3. If you randomly picked it, there's a higher likelihood that maybe you'd have FlyQuest and Tai Lu getting through. If you randomly picked it, you wouldn't have picked Heroic to get through. I would say if you randomly picked it, you probably wouldn't have had B8 and BetBoom. I should have had them. I should have thought of them. Gamer Legion, I just was in love with the rank at the time. I was in love with the Y, or not the Y, but the stat, and rather than the Y. Um, and then the same thing with the two Australian teams. I never seen Thunder Down Under play, but if you look at their roster, I should have seen that, basically their better half went to Thunder Down Under. That's Dexter. I mean, I even pointed that out, that, Alistair isn't necessarily a better half, but just having a leader go someplace else and make a major is, you know, it's like Nitro. No matter where he goes or who you put around him, he's going to have some sort of success. He's going to win games when they matter most. He's a lot like the Australian Nitro. And don't get me involved really right now with Nitro because obviously that game against Big didn't go to according to their plan. Gamer Legion did make it through after losing that one to BetBoom. Totally knew that that game was going to happen. It was written in the cards. BetBoom had beaten Gamer Legion twice previously, and we've seen this happen. So why did I not just assume, BetBoom's good enough? If they match up against each other, it'll probably be BetBoom again. And well, stage two is already here. Obviously, day one is already over, and BetBoom has already beaten Gamer Legion. Wait, again, right? Am I cooked in the head? No, they faced off again for the fourth time in the last like 3 months. They faced off, and this game wasn't even hardly 13-9. I mean, they faced off on Nuke, a map that BetBoom loves, and 13-2 Gamer Legion on, and so of course it went BetBoom's way again. Um, a lot of shit. And I think I completely overthought this with my final pick'ems. I just went with the top eight. I went with the sneaky, sexy Sinners as 3-0. They didn't win a single fucking map. Um, yeah, it's just not the best showing on my end. I'd say that it was probably my worst pick'em round ever because I've had three picks go by before. I've had my pick'ems busted and gone 3 out of 10. But I think in those cases it was sort of like a stage three where you have all these guys who are, you have to pick all eight of them of the top eight of the top 16 that are left, and the bottom 16 or the bottom eight. Let's just put it like this: it's the later you get into the tournament, the more you're gonna want to pick the teams that have already qualified. However, those teams that have qualified have not warmed up to the major yet. They have not won a map yet. They have not practiced themselves against these teams that are wiping sweat off their brow, that are bleeding, that are cut, but that are all revved up. They are ready to run the full length of the court, touch it, and then run back and dunk the ball in their head. And these teams haven't even taken their first shot yet. So it's really difficult once you really get to stage three, and I think that's where I've messed up before and done this poorly. This is probably my worst pick'ems ever. It just so happens, nobody expected FlyQuest to get through. I think very little expected Tyloo to get through, but some, good minds did, and I should have seen it coming. I did see Liquid having some sort of success, not 2-0ing Heroic and not on the other end of the spectrum getting 2-0'd by FlyQuest. So it's like, really, what can you predict? How much can you really blame yourself? I should have had Gamer Legion, excuse me, Gaming Gladiators getting through 03. I had that the very first time I picked my Pickems. I think I had Gamer Legion, B8. I had Thunder Down Under, I had Gaming Gladiators, and then I had some sort of Bet Boom, M80, Tyloo, MIBR, Big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the last one, Heroic. That would have been my six, and I would have had six correct, I believe, because I would have had B8. I would have had five correct. And Tyloo instead of and Tyloo down here instead of Bet Boom. Bet Boom. No, no. Sorry. So I had Ty Lue. This is the very first time I had Ty Lue going through. I obviously didn't have FlyQuest, but I had Bet Boom here. That would not have been right. But I did have B8 up here. Um, I had Game Legion up here, so that would not have been right. So 1-1 here, and then I think I had MIBR, M80, that's 2. I had Tyloo, that's 3. I don't think I had Big initially. I think I was fading Big because I was in favor of Tyloo or something like that, and I replaced Tyloo with Big. So either way, I think I would have gotten 5 if I just, threw my shit at the wall and see what stuck. And instead, I overthought it. I looked at too many stats. I looked at map pool, looked at all sorts of things, and I learned a little bit about what, really matters, but what does matter the most has stayed the same, has remained true, and that is you have to watch the fucking games. You have to let yourself judge it based on your own eye, and you can trust other people's opinions actually if they have valid reasons for believing the things that they do. Like casters. Not that they're, analysts and casters get it right most of the time. Most of the time they don't. Most of the time they get it wrong, but some of them you can trust because they aren't listening to the hive mind. They're listening to their own opinions based off of, they actually care about pick'ems, and so they're listening to just whatever they actually believe. They're not in group chats with people being like, oh, you think this? Oh, I guess I'll change it. You're right. So don't listen to people that change their opinions, I mean, I don't think I changed my opinion. This is what I believed in, right? I kind of came up with the sinners on my own. So I've been testing this out for so long now, and finally, I think I've come to the conclusion that like it doesn't matter really what the stats say. It's more just about watching the games. Do you really have the time to take time out of your day to watch these teams? You have to watch them as a progression too, because you need context. Bet Boom. If you just watch one or two Bet Boom games, you might not see them at their best. But now you look at Bet Boom and it's like their roster, never mind the fact that, Bet Boom should always be decent, with Boomich leading the way, with Zorti as being a consistent opper, and then the third piece, whoever it is, but then they've been cycling in and out, a Magnajez being the third piece. Like that's already a super strong core, but then they have either Diladez, Flamis, or Siren. I mean, like Siren is kind of the weak odd man out, and so you're coming into this tournament like, oh no, they have Flamis as a sub. Oh fuck yeah, they have Flamis as a sub. That's why we go to this next stage, and I was so much more confident about them because that team is stacked with firepower. In some cases, this might not work because there's so much firepower, but like Diladez is a fragger. Magnajez, Flamis, same deal, right? Zorti, a good solid opper. Boomich, don't get me started, bro, a space taker. So let's just go into stage 2 right now and look at Foot Esports. There's not much about their roster that I can really tell you. I don't know how to pronounce half these names, but what I can tell you is that they have played at the Tier 1 level for a while, and I just have a sort of feeling about watching them and seeing them overperform what I'm expecting, like over and over and over again. Obviously, they came up together, so they do have that kind of camaraderie. They have a roster that's never really been shook. And so you kind of have like one of those really old buildings that wasn't very well built, but it's kind of like been rusted together, right? And I'm not saying that these guys are old. This is an academy team. I mean, my analogy is already breaking apart more than the analogy itself that I'm trying to make, but they haven't been shook. So when you have a roster that hasn't no pieces have been taken out and removed, nothing else is needed to adjust to it yet. And so I feel like right now, I mean, Lonks is a little bit newer compared to the rest of the roster, but it's still just right. And I think you give Foot a run before you start doubting them because of whatever reason. Because we've seen them perform at Tier 1 recently and play well enough for me to think that they're going to get through. So I do. Team Spirit, they should not be here. They should be up here in the top 4. I think that they're the third, most likely candidate, if not better than Na'Vi, to win this whole thing. Not much needs to be said about them. They seem to have only played better since Magix and Zontix have come in. I think there's been more space for him to really blossom, and I believe Zontix never really was justifiably kicked from this team. So we now have a team that is now stronger, even though the names are familiar and kind of like, well, why did this not work in the past? Why is this now the key, the solution? Well, right now it is, and if you watch them based on the eye test, I believe that this is a no-brainer to get through. Astralis, um, Astralis and Monty are kind of my two teams where they've added players. The sum is greater than the individuals. Uh, Stare, Jabby, Habby, and Hooksy uh, are not the best Danish players that Astralis, or the most sexy players that Astralis has wielded, yet they work well together and they're super role, fulfilling. And then Fozy and Ryu just kind of have worked really well for them. I think that Hooksy has that sort of gene as an IGL where he, like a lot of IGLs, that he is able to control the game better when the guys on his team don't have their own agendas going on. And so Hooksy, is able to make his vision, which is usually very successful because he's a good leader, come into fruition. And so Fozy, even though he's not a tier 1 opper, and Ryu, who's still trying to make a name for himself. I mean, what team was he even on? He was on Monty beforehand, right? So obviously he was one of the best players on Monty because he got poached by a big orc like Astralis. He was worth a damn to somebody. And it's really worked out for Astralis against some teams, and then against other teams it really hasn't. So I believe Astralis will get through. This version of Astralis is not going to win the major. I don't believe they're going to make it to playoffs, but they're not a team like Astralis of the past that looks better on paper, but just is going to take a shit. G2 should, like Team Spirit and Foot, should be a guarantee. These three teams, you got to get them through. This is such a name-heavy team over here. I think if we're calling Astralis, one thing, G2 is the exact opposite, where I'm not really sure about Hunter's calling ability. I like him as an experienced guy, and I think that Hunter has a lot to offer to other teams looking for, a sort of, valuable veteran who still got it, Unk. Um, but Heavy God, Matty S, Matisse, and Nertz, I mean, bro, like, how do they even split it 3 ways between those 3 guys? They all just ball out. And then some Pius is probably one of the best oppers here on this stage. And Saw is your coach. I mean, Hunter doesn't need to be worth anything. He's got so much, so many ideas, such great cool, and obviously very well respected in the community. I love to see uh, just him standing behind a team makes them better, I believe, because of, I don't know, maybe I'm just bullshitting a little bit there, but obviously, he's only upgraded teams in his career, and he's ended up with G2, and G2's reached a point. I think Saw is somebody, if Hooksy isn't good at managing, big personalities, and he doesn't max out, I think Saw is, because of just the persona that he has, as he's jumped from iGame.com to Havu Gaming to ENCE to Heroic to G2. If those aren't steps on the ladder, then I don't know what is, right? Um, so yes, so now we have him on G2, and we have a ton of firepower. They should definitely, I could see them getting through. Legacy, super successful lately. Another team, it's like kind of sum is greater than the parts. It's kind of like they can take pieces in and out. I mean, they took out Lux, who was such a revelation as an IGL. I mean, I don't know who he took over the spot for. I'm sure I do know, but I just can't think off the top of my head. And Art comes in as being a failed IGL for Furia and going to Fluxo or something, and then coming back. And now it seems to have fulfilled the role better than Lux and whoever is calling the shots over there at Legacy and GMing over there, putting the pieces together is really hitting. I think he was extremely successful when he hit with Sadzin. I think who's probably the best Brazilian opera that exists, and believing in Dumao, letting him develop to the person that he is. Lado, who I feel like has become maybe the most consistent player on the team in terms of firepower. And then Nissim is just kind of the glue that keeps it all together. This Legacy team, this version of them, might even be able to reach a higher height than they ever have in the past if we're looking at recent results. There's a lot of confidence in this version of Legacy versus in the past where it's been like, oh, okay, no, this is a good team. Wait, okay, I believe in them, and then they crash. This Legacy team might be one that gets to playoffs, and have they reached playoffs before? That's something I have to actually look at because I know that um, if we go to Budapest Major and we go to playoffs, I wonder did they actually that's how good they've been in the past is that they didn't reach it in Budapest. In Austin, I don't believe so either. So I don't think that was it. I think that would be at Shanghai. Is it the first time that they were good? Oh, Shanghai. All right, it's a different. Remember the RMRs guys? I do. So no, they've never reached playoffs before, but this might be the kind of team that you will see get to that point. Pain Gaming, I'm not very high on. I haven't seen enough from if you look away from Big Azera for a moment, the rest of the squad, literally everybody else, I haven't seen enough from for me to consider them a team that's like they are for sure making it to stage three. They are for sure gonna surprise, and they are for sure a team I need to, like I said, they're gonna surprise. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that. Snow is a surprising player sometimes, but his overall production isn't. NQZ can make surprising plays sometimes, but overall, he's not a very impressive opper. Paria Jr., and VSM have surprised in terms of like, okay, Pain hasn't fallen off a cliff, but I kind of compare their additions to when Complexity or whoever, Passion Ue, added Nyx and Sixy. It was very underwhelming, extremely underwhelming, and made me concerned that they were just basically giving up all hope and accepting their fate as a tier 2 2.5 team. And really, it's not been that bad. And part of that is probably to do with Payne's leadership in Big Zera, who's able to max out his guys on his team. He's got really good, mid-round calling. He seems to know where the defense is at when he's a T. And as a CT, it just seems like they seem to win rounds. I believe heavily in Big Zera, but this version of Payne, I don't expect them to get through. Monty, I don't really know what to say about Monty. I mean, every single one of these guys here, he's kicked from this team and he's kicked from, but everyone besides Gizmy is just a whole bunch of baggage or recent baggage even, and wasn't wanted by their previous owner, and now it's like put it all together and you have a cacophony, is that what he got his name from, of success. And I expect them to do well because I have no idea why not. They've been having a good amount of success. It seems like the Monty moniker has surprised us in the past, and I feel like it's hard to game plan against these guys because none of them, it's like, oh, that was a blank play, like that looks like donk. Like if you took their sometimes you will see a video of like a guy shooting and you'll be like, oh, that's obviously Carl Anthony Towns, or something like that. You couldn't do that with any of these guys. They're all unknown assets or assets that were just have never had the limelight shined on them, but have all accumulated some sort of experience in the past. So it's working pretty well, and Monty should be able to find a win or two in this next stage and maybe move on to stage 3. For fuck do I know? I'm not going to talk about them forever. I can't have nothing to say about them. Um, 9Z. 9Z people seem to like, people seem to be very bullish on. I know DGT. I know Max has been with the team forever. That's back when they had Buddha, and I thought 9Z was a decent team then. They went from being a clear 0-3 candidate to like the next time you saw them, I think maybe being in Dallas and like showing up in a semifinal matchup on the main stage. Um, House OP, Quaso Peak is really, I think, probably one of the better oppers in his continent. And Luchov and Myron are probably just the kind of other two guys here. DGT has obviously made a name for himself, I think, on one of these other Brazilian teams, whether it be Pain um, yeah, it was Payne, and really didn't deserve to be kicked, in my opinion. Him and the other guy that was on Payne got kicked at the same time and replaced by Pariah and VSM, and it seems to be working out for 9Z. They have a lot of respect, like I said, from the community. And I'm not going to pick them to go through. I don't know enough about them. There's too many other teams here I know a lot about. But if they get through at the same time, I'd be like, okay, that's Pickems. And then the teams that have gone through from stage one. Well, we have Gamer Legion, like I've already said. I've already covered most of these teams. Bait got through. Bet Boom got through. Big, with 16 rounds in a row, got through. M80 got through, was pretty impressive to me. I think basically everything I thought about them going into this stage turned out to be true. Jaba is a little more streaky than I even thought. I think he actually played better than I thought at times. I mean, he played pretty poorly, but in terms of making this team better, I think it's true. I think M80 succeeded when they added Jaba, and then MIBR, they snuck through as well. Are they better or worse? I'd say they're worse than I thought. Berenazan or Breno, however you want to say, something happened to him where he was a lot better at previous majors, and I just don't see it anymore. Clem might develop into a really strong player. LNZ I don't think is an amazing IGL. I don't think he makes his team, unbeatable by just about anybody. I think that they are very beatable, but they can come in and have a good game plan and surprise a little bit. Venom Zera is a really strong player, so I like to see that. From the least known member of this team, I think right now is probably Venom Zera, and even though he has Zera in his name, and that seems to give everybody a little bit of clout, is when you throw Zera in there. It's a cool name, Venom Zera, but other than that, I think he was probably the most impressive player on their team because I know Insani, I know what he's gonna do. And then Klim was okay at times; he was pretty good. Sinner's extremely disappointing. I don't need to cover them. Tai Lu, I mean, they made it through. I think that they are decent enough, capable enough to get one win, but I think they're also a good 0-3 candidate. I probably would have had them going 0-3, but I will explain why I didn't in a sec. And then FlyQuest, they made it. Fuck everything I said about their map pool, about Reddit rumors, about everybody else, not just me, thinking and believing that this team was absolutely, without a doubt, cooked. Doesn't matter what they've done in the past when they've been doubted. This team, in specific, this version of FlyQuest was not going to work, and they proved us wrong. They stomped on Liquid. I mean, just demolished them and deserved to be here. Without a shadow of a doubt, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So good for FlyQuest. And now we get to the part where I basically just spoil exactly what I picked. So this morning, like I said, I don't know if I actually said it, but I woke up at 10:30 and it had already started. It had already started, and I said, "Fuck no! I'm gonna get a silver coin. I haven't even placed my Pickems yet." So I'm panicking, and I get on my computer half naked. I'm still naked now, and I go to work. Just basically going, what the fuck do I want to do? Without doing any research, how do I want to go about this? And basically, what I had seen already on my board here is that 4 of the games looked like they were already complete. And I was going about my business as if I was picking my pick'ems, rushing to do it, but it had said 1 minute remaining here. It said 1 minute remaining. I shit you not, 4 of the games were finished, and it said 1 minute remaining at 13, 13, 13, 1 minute remaining. And so I did my pick'ems. I had Tyloo FlyQuest. I saw that Tyloo beat Payne in that first game, so I threw Payne in there instead. And I fucking locked it in. And now it says picks are locked. And as far as I can tell, they even gave me the green check mark over here. As far as I can tell, I'm valid. I'm not getting my hopes up that this won't be stripped away. That something in the computer does some sort of retroactive switch, and that even if this doesn't change, nothing on here changes. Even if I get the check marks and it looks like I pass, if the coin doesn't change at the end, if I don't get silver once I've hit like 5. Oh, One more. Okay, so if I don't get 5 after this stage, that's when I'll know whether or not the coin will change. If the coin changes colors after stage 2, no, I have to get 5. We have one more for next coin upgrade. Yeah, so 4. 4 total. Then somehow I cheated the fucking system. And I'm sorry, but also at the same time, it disappoints me because this means that people can get on here and see the results of at least the half of the first round's games and then set their pick'ems. Should I even post this? I mean, nobody's gonna watch this, so it doesn't matter. But I'm almost jeopardizing my. I'm probably gonna get a silver coin here, unless I get perfect stage 3, which I've said before now is probably the hardest stage, and unless I get and predict who's actually gonna win the grand final, which has been extremely difficult in the past. I think unless I do that, I mean, I can get quarterfinals and semifinals. I think it's 7, correct? For gold coin, all I really need is gold coin. I don't need diamond. I already fucked it up. I just want to get gold coin, but I thought this morning that I'd slept through my fucking alarm, basically, and I didn't know that it was started right away. So anyways, I have Spirit and Foot going 3-0. Seems like the safest bet. What had I seen already? I had seen Foot 13-11 bait, and I said, okay, that probably is going to be one of their most difficult matches, right? So they've proved themselves. They don't need the warm up buff. They've beaten a team that's well warm, and Foot wins that game against bait. Say less. I'm gonna put Foot there. That would be my only shaky call, right? Like I'd be looking at Foot, I'd be looking at G2, and now at this point, if I had given myself one more minute to think about it rather than locking it in, I would have probably put G2 there and said I'd actually have G2 probably beating Foot. I still think that's going to happen because I believe, if I'm not incorrect, that Foot and G2 face each other. I think that G2 will win that. So, you know, I cheated regardless, and I put pain here. So like, there's been ways I benefited from this. Had I really had time to overthink it, as much time as I don't know if you really can have time to overthink it. You only have like 12 hours to make your goddamn picks. Um, but I would have had Spirit here, and I would have had FlyQuest here. I think I saw 9Z FlyQuest here as well. I would have had Tyloo and probably FlyQuest. Out of all the teams here, Tyloo FlyQuest seems like I would have run back double Asians, even though that didn't work for me in the last stage. So FlyQuest right now is on the brink of going 0-2. Pain is also on the brink of going 0-2. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how things match up, you can't really tell me that having these two teams, like I get a guaranteed 0-3 here. So I get a +1 for that. There's no way you would have had Bait or Gamer Legion in the 0-3 here. Maybe Gamer Legion. I doubt Bait. I doubt Bait after that first stage. But having Pain and FlyQuest face each other, I'll take one. Okay? If this had sliced itself up differently and I had GL facing Pain or FlyQuest facing Bait or however you want to say, wow. I mean, I just got 2 free ones because I believe that Bait and GL would have beaten both of these teams respectively. However, it's not the case. One of these will be right. One of them will be wrong. And over here, Spirit is facing 9Z. I believe that's going to go in Spirit's way. I don't believe 9Z has any chance. Spirit just pooped on MIBR, so if it tells you anything about how they face off against that region of the world, maybe it doesn't, but they just pooped on MIBR, who previously comfortably beat Legacy. Legacy then went on to beat FlyQuest. They are looking like a decent 3-1-3-2 pick. I'd expect them to get through fully. G2 looks like I believe they're going to beat Foot, so I believe both of these are going to be wrong. Bait is now 0-2. I would not be shocked if they came back and ended up 3-2. They lost to M80 today. M80 played well. Bait played pretty bad, but not concerningly bad, to the point where now they're going to face Gamer Legion. I expect them to beat Gamer Legion. I did not have Gamer Legion going through. That wasn't something that I flubbed and forgot about. It's just there's enough good teams here, and I believe that Gamer Legion just looked a little bit young for that last stage. They are a very strong team, but I'm not going to be fooled by, recent matches and things that are not the major. The major matches are more important. I've seen enough of them in that first stage to know, okay, they're very good, but in this stage, like Bet Boom are better than them. M80 versus Gamer Legion is almost a wash. I'd probably lean Gamer Legion in that case, but M80 I feel like matches up better to other teams. I didn't have MIBR going through. So there's, anyways. Uh, Bait, obviously, like I said, wouldn't be shocked if they came back, but that might be an L. I'll just say it's an L for now because it would have to be a really nice comeback for them to go from beating Gamer Legion in best of three to the next team and then the next team. But they can do it. They've grinded enough before. They look extremely strong in certain situations, and then in others, it's like they're really kind of mediocre. So I don't know. Um, like I said, I'll call this an L. So right now we have Spirit, I guarantee is going through. So that's one, two, three. I think this is an L. This is an L. So one, two, three. I think this is a fourth L. M80 is now 1-1. This is iffy. Just because we don't quite know how it's gonna pan out in the tomorrow in the next best of one, or in the best of threes after that. My opinion is Bait or M80 will lose to Bet Boom tomorrow. So if we really go about this the way that I think is going to happen, Beboom, it looks extremely strong. The fact that they faced Spirit in that first game is honestly, it's honestly a blessing because Betboom is as strong as any team here is currently playing, in my opinion. Besides, you can't really surpass Spirit and maybe Foot and G2. But Betboom should probably be the fourth ranked team right now, just with how they're currently playing. I think they can beat everybody else. I'd prefer them. So this looks like a guaranteed yes. So one, two, three, four, I'd say a guaranteed getting through. And now it kind of comes down to like maybe G2 fluke loses to Foot tomorrow. Maybe Foot just has a great matchup for whatever reason. Bait, maybe they make that comeback. And then M80, maybe they squeak out, after losing to Bet Boom tomorrow, in my opinion. Maybe they squeak out two best of threes in a row against whoever. And then Astralis, even though they get stomped by 9Z, they comfortably beat Gamer Legion, which I thought was a great sign because there was no way I was putting them 3-0. But beating a team like that comfortably tells me, like, okay, they have a game plan that works. Monty is interesting. I think Monty's going to steal one of these spots. They almost beat G2 after comfortably beating Big. Big, I don't think it's getting through. They beat Pain, like I said. I think Pain is actually pretty weak. I don't think that's a great game. I'm really, like I said, the fact that Tyloo beat Pain, I was able to get that preview beforehand. I shouldn't be given the silver coin for getting by this stage, but that made it easy for me to put Pain in there. Otherwise, I would have been like, well, it is Pain Gaming. It is Big Uzera. They'll find one way to win a map, win a match somehow. They lost to Tyloo? Okay, easy call. Throwing them down in there, and now it's them versus FlyQuest. There's an easy point. So, like I said, we're looking at 5. I'd say, with the 4 that are guaranteed, and then the other 4 that are up in the air, or the other 3, I guess, because one of these is guaranteed to be wrong. The other 3 that are up in, so 1, 2, 3, 4 that are guaranteed, in my opinion. The other 3 that are up in the air. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess there's 10. So what's the other one that I'm forgetting? Or 2? Guaranteed, guaranteed 1, and then guaranteed, and then guaranteed. Sounds like there's a truck backing up. There's no reason for a truck to be outside. It was taking these off. It was just a single fire truck. It's just a single fire truck. The usual, not the usual, but nothing really too concerning. But it's kind of your neighbor duty to go outside and there's a fire truck to just crane your neck down the street to see if there's any smoke or commotion. Where was I? Oh yeah, there's 10 teams here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10. Yes. Yes. No. Well, yes, yes. Yes. 3, 4 yeses. No. 5 total. So there's 5 maybes. There's 5 maybes right now. And tomorrow we get that foot G2 matchup, which reduces the 5 maybes down to 3 immediately once foot loses to G2. If foot loses to G2. If foot beats G2, I'm going to have one of the best Pickems I've ever had, but I just, that's a very big if. It's a very big ask. And also I've cheated my way here, so I don't know why I'm getting super excited about that. But foot beating G2 would mean that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guaranteed. Within 3 maybes, I'll call bait a no. I mean, it could be a yes. It could be a yes. And M80 could be a yes. And I'm not even counting Astralis. They're 1-1. I should be counting Astralis as not a guarantee, but they're facing MIBR. Wait, right? Yeah, no, they're facing Tai Lu. They're facing Tai Lu. They're going 2-1. Probably they're going 2-1. Tai Lu gave Foot a decent run. And G2 actually struggled with Monty. That's something to keep in mind. They actually struggled with Monty. So maybe G2 isn't as good as we thought, but Monty did beat Big comfortably. I don't know. Who knows which team is better than which? All I'm saying is my Pickems have already been locked. I had them done. Stage 1 was a shit show. And that's about it, guys. Yeah. Hopefully I get that silver coin at the end of this. Hopefully the Pickems work. Hopefully you're not cooked with your 303s. I'm guessing you probably had Tyloo FlyQuest like I would have. Your 3.0s probably look exactly like mine. But I am extremely happy with what my 3.132s look like. I feel like I did a really good job of piecing together the teams that are actually not frauds, like I knew Gamer Legion was, like I knew MIBR was, like I knew Big just couldn't be not. As much as I want Big to get through, I really hope they find a way right now. Who are they facing this today or tomorrow? Excuse me, they are facing MIBR. Yes, they are facing MIBR. I'm going to be rooting heavily for Big in that game. That would be a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, either way, if Astralis wins, looks like MIBR would have to win, obviously. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Right now, I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed. But at the same time, I hope it's not true. I kind of hope that I get that silver, or that I end up with a silver coin because I was late. I don't want the system to be broken. We'll see. We'll see.